It's my pleasure to welcome Laurence Jankelow, and he is founder of Avail. This is a software for do-it-yourself landlords. Can help you find tenants, screen them, view their credit history, sign leases, collect rent, and all in one place. So there are some great tools coming out, folks, for self-management and also for managing your property managers too. But a lot of people are turning to self-management as a great option, and a lot of great technology to help us do that nowadays. Laurence, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Good, good. And you are sharing your screen. So if you aren't seeing this on video on our YouTube channel, we will try and, if you're hearing audio only, we will try and explain what we're looking at so that you can understand it in an audio only format. But ideally, check it out in the video format as well. And we'll have the links for that down below. Go ahead, Laurence.
Perfect. I'll try to be as descriptive as I can for anyone who doesn't have video, but hopefully you can get to YouTube and see it because there's a lot of good stuff here to see. First, I'll just kind of briefly talk about what Avail is so that you know what you're getting into before you watch multiple minutes of us going through it. We're a software meant for do-it-yourself landlords, particularly those with 10 or fewer units. And we really try to help guide landlords through the entire process of finding tenants, screening them, creating leases, collecting rent, doing maintenance. We've designed a software that helps you flow through that process and then gives you the tools to do each of those components online. So with that being said, I'll get started right here. If you were interested in Avail, you just come straight to the homepage, which is avail.co, and you can kind of see it up here in the top left corner. And it's pretty simple. It's self-service. You don't need a salesperson to get started. You would just click sign up, or you can browse the marketing pages. In this case, what I've done is I've already created an empty shell account. So I'm just going to log into that account just to bypass some of the security that we normally would have that I don't want to bore everyone with. We take security very, very seriously. So I just didn't want to take time with the demo on that. So here I've created an account. I'm just going to log in. And let me... Okay, so once you log in, it loads the application, and very first thing that you want to do is add your first or all of your properties. If you've got just one, then go ahead and add that, and you choose what kind of property type it is, whether it's a single family home or a multifamily. And if you've got a bunch of properties, you can either add them all up front, or you can just add one, get a taste for the software, see how you like it before you move too far down the path. In this case, I'm just going to add one property here. This is actually our office address. So at least you'll be able to get a sense for what it's like without, I do have real rental properties of my own. I just don't want to have those physically displayed on the internet here. So hopefully you guys can understand that. So I'm adding my property. If I wanted to add more, I would just keep going. In this case, I'm just going to add the one. So I'm going to click save. And this is entirely free to get started. So you can add one or all of your properties right at the outset without having to pay anything. Very first thing we'll see here is the dashboard. And when you're first getting started, this dashboard is super simple. It's just going to show the properties you've added. The Avail system doesn't yet know very much about your property. So there's not a lot of fancy numbers to share with you until we see how you're engaging with it and what your property statuses are. And so here I've just added the one property. You can see it. I know I want to go and manage it. So I'm going to go ahead and click into that and show you everything that you can do with this property. I've gone ahead and clicked on manage that unit. And so now I'm inside the unit page where I can see all of the options available to me. And as I mentioned before we created the account, Avail is really great for landlords who are trying to find tenants. So if you look at the top here, across the top, you'll see kind of the different features and services we offer for this unit. So we offer listings where you'd create and post a listing with us, and then we syndicate that across the internet. And I'll go deeper into each of these in a second. We offer tenant screening and rental applications that include the full formal rental application, questionnaire, as well as the credit score, criminal background check, evictions report. We offer leasing, so we'll give you a state and city specific and compliant lease agreement, including all the disclosures and pamphlets that are required. And then you can customize it, and then you and your tenants would sign those digitally online without having to meet in person or fax and email paper copies. And then we allow you to set up a rent collection system. So you can go ahead and if you've done the lease with us, it's really just one button to say, hey, based on the lease terms, create this schedule of rent payments that my tenants should be paying. And then your tenants would log in and pay. And then the last feature currently is maintenance, where you provide a portal for your tenants to go in and submit maintenance tickets so you can see them across all of the properties, know what the status is of each of those, and try to keep up to date with those. So those are kind of the main services here for this unit. So
talk to us, if you would, Laurence, about the actual lease document. Is that legal in all 50 states? Is it your document, or how is that happening?
Yeah, I'll briefly describe it here, but I'll try to go into a little more detail when we go into that tab.
Okay.
That lease document is specific to, we've got 50 versions currently, one for each state, and we've got another 100 or so versions that are specific to some of the major cities. So those are very city and state specific. They're legal specifically in the state and city that the property is located in. So most landlords can rest assured that it is going to be very compliant with local ordinances. And then it's updated automatically every year. So unlike going to a lawyer where you pay $500 to customize your lease, at the end of the year, that would probably not be outdated, but ours continuously updates itself. So there's a small benefit there. That being said, I'm going to start at the beginning of what most landlords sign up to do with us. They're usually
and can you customize the lease? Can you add an addendum and add clauses you want in there?
Yes.
And which signing platform is it actually using? Is it using one you built, or is it like DocuSign or HelloSign in the background? Or
yeah, great questions. It's entirely customizable. I think your audience will see that everything here is customizable, from the leases to the applications, everything right. Across the board.
And then on the leases, which document signing platform is it?
Yeah, on the leases, that's homegrown. We've built our own.
Okay.
According to the E-Sign Act of 2000, we kind of tailored it specifically to that to make it legal in the United States.
Okay.
So I'll get started because most of our customers sign up to do some sort of listing with us. That's where we find people have a lot of pain, is trying to find tenants and fill a vacancy. So I'll start there, which is in this listing tab here. And really what we do is we help you create a listing, and then we syndicate that listing basically across the internet to all of the popular websites. So you'll see some of them are listed here. We actually send it off to 12 websites, and some of those websites send it off to their own versions of websites. So this can make its way to a myriad of websites. And then all of those leads come right into here, and you would see them on the bottom.
And just, can you click the 6 more sites button there? I'd like to see all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So these top 6 give you real-time status updates. So you can see that it's posted or that it's syndicating, and then these give you status updates after 24 hours or so.
Okay. And so no Craigslist, like nobody integrates with Craigslist anymore. You know, it's just too primitive now, but just curious about that.
Yeah, we don't do Craigslist. We actually started with Craigslist probably 7 years ago, but we found that the quantity of leads is massive, but the quality was just so low, and there's so much fraud. And as a participant in the industry, we're just trying to eliminate fraud. So we stopped working with Craigslist a long time ago. And then they're also not willing to work with people either. So mutually exclusive there. So I'll go ahead, and here it says finish listing. Normally this would say build listing, but here our system already knows a lot of information about this property. So it's going to pre-populate what it can find on the internet for you. So in this case, it knows 2 beds, 2 bathrooms, 1,200 square feet with a garage space. So it's already populated some information for you.
If that information is often wrong, though, can you modify it? Or
yeah, absolutely. In this case, if I wanted to say, hey, it's 4 bedrooms, I just type it in here, or if it's
1,220 square feet. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can see normally we have there's multiple steps to get a listing finalized here. So I'll kind of breeze through these. First is obviously the basics. There's some terms here. I'm just going to change it to $3,200 a month and say that there's no security deposit. Move in here. My computer is just automatically putting some dates in there. So I'm going to say available move in is end of the month, and we can say 2-year lease. Whatever you want to put in here, you can. No move-in fee, no parking. We'll say no pets for now. And then here you'd be able to add some photos. I don't have photos readily available, but you would normally just click here to upload any or drag them in. It's exactly what you'd expect.
And all of the sites you're syndicating to are free listing sites, right? Do any of them charge?
Yeah. So Zillow Group does charge now. So Zillow used to be free for everybody, and then in beginning of this year they started charging. So we'll still syndicate to them, and if you have just one unit with us and with Zillow, it's still free. And then they start charging if you have more than one listing going to them.
How do you pay though? Do you go to their website and pay them, or do you pay through your platform, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you'll create the listing through us. We'll syndicate it to them. Then they'll reach out to you to make sure to get authorization that we can post the listing. And then they'll send you an agreement where you sign it and say, yep, I agree to this. And then they just invoice you at the end of the month directly.
Okay. By the way, I'm curious, this is as an aside, but what do you think about Zillow charging to list rentals? I actually think it's a good thing. A lot of people in my industry are complaining about it, but I think it's the way to get the site cleaned up and not have all these old junky fake rentals or old rentals that were rented a year ago on there. It's just my personal opinion, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of charging for multiple reasons. One, I think there's so much fraud prevalent in the industry that if you start charging, you inherently reduce some of that fraud.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Because with charging someone, you now have to get an invoiceable ID and just that identification
and a credit card.
Yeah, and a credit card is huge.
Yeah. See, I like it when companies charge for things, and I think they put more resources behind things when they charge for them. I want to pay companies because that's what's going to make things work. Google, for example, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Google doesn't charge for much stuff, and they're just behind the scenes selling your information and doing all sorts of abusive practices, and I guess Facebook the same, right? So yeah, it's everybody understands you're always paying. Okay, folks, one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, there's a classic thing in startup world where if you're not paying for the product, it means you are the product.
Yeah,
and so
right.
There is you have to be careful around that. So I know our service starts off free, and then you have the ability to upgrade and pay for it. And we think about it in terms of if we're providing you value, then you would in exchange come and pay us for additional value. So that's our model. We definitely want to make money. We do make money. So. And then I would just say complete the answer to your question on the Zillow thing. I think there's a second reason why it's good that they charge. It just gives them a revenue stream to continuously improve their product.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That's removing the fraud. So here, back to this, you would choose which amenities you want to tell all the other sites that you have available to you. So in this case, I'll choose central air, central heat, dishwasher, and unit laundry, updated kitchen, stainless steel appliances. And if you had an amenity that's not listed here and you wanted to add one, you can create your own custom amenity here. And I will go ahead and just put, big yard. And it's very similar on this next one with utilities. So what utilities would be included in the rent? Here in Chicago, it's normally water. So I'll just do that. And then some landlords will include these other things, but most just do water. And then here, you might want to display like a different name and phone number than what you created your account with. Completely optional. Some landlords are okay giving out their personal phone number, some aren't. And so here, if you've got a Google Voice number that you want to use, you could enter here. And if you have an LLC, you could put that name here instead. And then this is what will go out on your listings as opposed to your real name and phone number. And then, of course, if you're creating a listing, you want a title and a description. So you can go ahead here and write one. And I've done this so many times that it kind of auto-completes for me. But I'm going to click this apply suggested title, and it will automatically, based on everything I've already put in here, create a good title.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And in this case, 3,200 4-bed, 2-bath house in near north with great amenities. And in Chicago, this absolutely makes sense. This is an area near north. And then I'll do the same thing with the description and click the button. And here I can see amazing 4-bed, 2-bath house in near north. Amenities include these things. Contact me. And that's a good start. I don't recommend that landlords leave it here. They should customize it a little bit, but it's a really good start. Okay. One thing I think that also makes us unique against any competitors is then also coordinating the showings as well. So we don't physically go on site, but one of the big pains is just going back and forth with the tenant saying, hey, 2:00's available. Do you want to come see it? And you wait to hear from them. And then someone else wants to come see it. And there's a lot of jockeying back and forth for trying to organize these things. So you can go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to do showings on Saturday between let's call it 3 p.m. and
is there
7
any
p.m.
integration with electronic lock boxes or electronic locks or self-showing platforms?
No, not today.
Yeah.
All things in our pipeline, but yeah, not today.
Yeah, I'm sure your plan that's on your roadmap, though. I'm guessing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those things are important, and especially technology is finally becoming pervasive in real estate, which is a good thing. It's always been a laggard, so it's exciting to see that happen. So here I'm just creating a showings block from 3 to 7 p.m. And what this allows is an applicant can come in and just schedule a 20-minute showing anytime in here. So I don't have to go back and forth scheduling things, and I can add another one if I wanted to, and do multiple weekends or multiple times. Then you get to this final step here where you get your review and then finally publish the listing. So here we do have recommendations. We didn't put any photos in here. So normally photos are absolutely critical if you want people to take your listing seriously. So the system already recognizes that we don't have photos. It's really recommending it. If I were to click this link, it would take me back to the photos area to add those. And then I have some options here. Do I want to allow tenants to apply directly from the listing, or do I need them to go through me first?
Does your system store the photos for when you lease it the nenext time around?
Yeah, everything in here is saved for next time.
Okay. So, and does it store a tenant database for next time too? I mean, property management companies have databases of potential tenants in a given area, and it seems like that would be helpful to build. I mean, it's a long play for sure, but does it store them?
It does, and it doesn't. So it stores them, but it doesn't make them in a very usable format for a property manager to then 12 months later try to pick up on those relationships. That's on our roadmap to add in a little bit more. But most of our customers tend to be the do-it-yourself kind, and they're not property managers. So they haven't pushed for that feature so much yet. But as property managers have started to adopt our software more and more, we're seeing some requests for that. So that is on our roadmap.
So managers are using this too. It's not just a consumer product.
Yeah, we get both. We get a handful of all kinds of people who manage properties using us.
When did you launch, by the way? How old is this?
Well, we started it in 2012, but we coded it ourselves. So we were both finance majors. We didn't have the resources to pay an engineer, so we taught ourselves to code and spent the first 2 years writing the software ourselves. So first customers came on in early 2014, and that's when I think we officially launched, is early to mid 2014.
Okay.
So it's been around a while. We're now a 30-person team, very sustainable, profitable, not just with the revenue, but we also have we're profitable. So we're here for the long term. And here you can see the rest of the listing. And then when you're ready, you can just click publish. And here I'm going to, hopefully not too many viewers contact me on my mobile phone. But one thing we try to do is make sure that these don't become fraudulent listings. So we definitely do a bunch of things in the background to check for security. And make sure everything's working the way you'd expect, and that it's a real person. There's databases that we check against to make sure that this belongs to a real human being. So now the listing's been published, and you can see everywhere that it's going and the status of each. And the normal path here would be, okay, you've posted this, now you need to wait for leads to come in, and they'll all come right here into the app. And we try to encourage landlords to get ready for those leads by customizing an application so that when they come in, the application's there. So normally customers would click customize application here. I'm just going to close this window just to show you what's changed on this page now. So now that the listing is live, I can always turn it off here by just toggling off. I can, if I have people I want to share this with or put it on Facebook or Twitter, this is my own personal link to that listing. So I can click this and open a new page and view it. And this is the listing. This is if someone came to Avail, this is what they would see, and they can see the form, and then they could apply or send an inquiry right through here. Of course, most leads come through our syndication partners, so everyone's kind of familiar with what these would look like. You can order a for rent sign if you want, so we do charge for that. I recommend for rent signs. It gives a sense of credibility and professionalism when a tenant shows up to the property.
So someone actually goes and puts a sign on the property for you?
No, we ship you the sign next day.
Okay. So how much does that cost?
This is $25.
Okay.
And that's inclusive of the shipping.
So if you had a remote property where you're long distance self managing, which a lot of our clients do, and I do, it's amazingly easy. I'm I started doing it 12 years ago, and I never thought it would be possible, but it's great actually. You could just ship that sign to your cooperative tenant.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually what I do too. So even though I'm local, I'll have my tenants assist a lot. So my tenants will oftentimes do the showings for me. And then what I do is I'll offer them like a cleaning, I'll offer them a free cleaning service before, and that's a huge value to them, and it helps with the showing.
Yeah,
and
I've even had tenants that'll show the property, and I'll give them like a bonus if it leases before they leave, and then I have no vacancy in between. It's great.
Yeah. I like the bonus because the incentives align then, so that's great.
Yeah.
So here you can see the statuses. These change in real time as they all syndicate, and then you'd be able to click on these to go see them on those websites. And then as leads come in, they just show up down here automatically, and you can reply to them. Mm-hmm. Because this is a fake listing, it's probably not going to pass our own internal algorithm. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a manual lead for the time being, just with my own name here. How many do I got here? And we'll just call it referral. So this way we can see what a lead looks like. They would just automatically show up.
Okay, so you can
websites.
Add a lead that you got from some other source, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. All right, great. So when you click, then the next thing is, you might message them back and forth, and then request application. It's the tenant requesting an application, not the owner, right? So.
Yeah, it's actually both ways. So normally what would happen here is if this lead came in, you'd have some sort of dialogue with them first, maybe even ask them some pre-screening questions. And then if you both want to move forward, then either the person would come to the website and just apply, or you can request the application of them. We find that most landlords will go and request the application. We already have their email address, so it's really just a matter of clicking this button and it sends them a link to their application.
Okay. And so the application, is that document editable or changeable for the landlord, or is that just a standard form that you guys have created?
It's editable. So we'll jump over to that next. So all communication can happen here. And then when you're ready, you do an application. So let's go over to the applications tab and keep moving forward. So here, very similar. You can kind of see what would come with an application, but we want to go ahead and maybe get one started. So there are some general settings you can do, which would apply to every application. So this is kind of this little settings area. I can see what is by default. So it'll always require some basic info, which is the name, contact info, PIN info. It'll require 5 years of residence history, 5 years of work history, income verification, which is usually some sort of upload of a W-2, a pay stub, maybe an offer letter if they're new to the workforce. We ask 5 standard screening questions. Have you ever been evicted? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? Do you smoke? And then you can create your own custom questions. And then you can add credit, criminal, eviction stuff, reports. And those are $55, and normally the applicant pays for that. So this is the standard settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click edit so you can see what you can change. Basic info is always required, so we don't let you toggle that off, but you can change how many years history you want, how many years work history you would want, whether you require them to upload documents. These are the standard questions we ask. And then you can always ask your own custom questions. Who else over 18 will be on the...
Occupy the property, yeah.
Yeah. And some of these,
and of course, just a general statement, folks, you have to be familiar with the fair housing laws and be very careful that you don't ask questions that violate fair housing. And you would be surprised how easy that can be to do that. You may not intend to, but you can just, it's easy to learn the fair housing laws and just comply with them. So just note.
Absolutely agree there. I mean, there's been horror stories in the past where even good intentioned people
I know
do bad things. So here, some of the customization stuff is a pay for feature. So these custom questions you would normally have to pay for. So if I click add, it's going to prompt me to upgrade to the unlimited plan. So I'm going to skip that for now. And then here I can toggle on which reports I want to request of the applicant. And you can see that the amount changes based on which ones you're choosing. And then we give a huge discount if you're requesting all 3 of those. Mm-hmm. So Once you've got your basic settings ready, then you can go ahead and just request the application of the applicant. And you can do that directly from this listing page. So here I had this person, I can just click request application and we'll request it. And you'll see that it persists and is now in this applications area. And I can see this applicant has been requested.
Okay.
And this person will get an email with a link to fill this out. And then once they do, I'll be able to see all of that information.
So let's assume we're improving them now. Say you approve the tenant. What happens then?
Yeah. So when I'm ready to see it, I'd click view and I'd be able to see all of these reports. Mm-hmm. And if I'm ready to approve the person, I would just go ahead and click draft lease.
Okay. And then it takes you into drafting the lease,
Yep.
and then it sends them the lease on the signing platform. You get that signed, and then they just move in, right?
Yep. Yeah. So there you saw it took a second or two for it to get me to this page to create the lease, and that's because it's going to our database of lease-specific templates, and it's creating a version off of the Chicago residential landlord tenant lease agreement that we have. So here it's dropped me in here. It's pre-populated some information for me. And again, you're seeing a very similar looking stepper here to what we saw in the listings. We try to keep the UI consistent across the board here. So here I'm trying to create a lease, call it for a full year starting September 1st. And here we provide a lot of information that's coming off our database that is super local. We call that internally just local assist.
That's fantastic. Yeah, wow. It notifies if there's rent control in the area and so forth. Okay, so then you put the fee structure, move-in fee, move-out fee, parking fee, whatever. And those I assume are editable because you might have gardener or not, or trash pickup or things like that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll see across the side here, we start with what's the length of the lease, what are the fees. There's a bunch of options, clauses, rules, all these things. So we'll go through those really quickly. Okay. I don't charge security deposits anymore. Not sure if that's standard where you are. Chicago.
No, that's definitely not standard. But what I thought you were going to say, and we're going to have a guest on this. There are companies out there now putting up the security deposits for tenants, and then there are rent insurance companies I've interviewed, and there are some kind of unique things there. I thought you were going to say that you literally do zero security deposit and let people move into your properties.
Yeah, I guess I should ask where you're located with your properties.
Well, they're all over the country. I mean, I have properties in several states. I mean, we do business nationwide. So
it's becoming more common in Chicago to not do a security deposit. It's so tenant friendly here and strict on what you have to do. And the penalty if you make a simple mistake on a security deposit is 3 times the security deposit. That's the penalty.
But you can charge a 1-month security deposit, right?
Yeah, you can certainly do that, and I used to do that. And but when you're doing a security, and I should personally still do security deposits because I know all the rules. But I try to encourage landlords not to do those anymore, simply because of how tough they are, and you can't even get part of the security deposit back most of the time. So it's kind of a false sense of security here in Chicago. Instead, what I do is I charge a move-in fee that's non-refundable, and use that to apply to any damage. And if they do damage to the place, I can still charge them.
You just do a good job screening them. Is what you really do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Screening is everything.
Interesting. And by the way, that's what a lot of institutional landlords do. They don't charge security deposits, or they charge, $89. I mean, I always thought that's a recipe for disaster, but it's becoming more common. In the old days, I used to charge 2 months security deposit. It seems like that's really just been watered down over time. I never get that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, if you're doing a good job screening and you see that they've been employed for a while and their earnings are 3 or more times the rent, then you can feel pretty safe. Mm-hmm. So once you set what fees you're wanting, there's a bunch of options here. If they're not moving in on the first, you have the option to prorate the first month's rent. You can click that and we'll calculate that proration for you. So let's say they're moving in on the 4th, for instance. We would just calculate that amount for you.
Fantastic.
You choose what policy you want, and we'll create the clause for you. So, are pets allowed? Are they not allowed? Do you want to charge a deposit, a fee, an additional month? What do you want to do?
I recommend pet rent, but just a monthly fee. Most tenants will agree to that. Yeah,
we'll do that.
$25. Yeah,
great. I love it. So we'll do that. I don't allow smoking in my unit, so I'll do that one. I don't typically allow my leases to go month to month at the end, so I'm going to ignore that. I do require renter's insurance, and Because I am actually a user of Avail, I'll typically include this one as well, which requires that they pay through Avail. Cool. So that will go ahead and build all of the clauses based on the state and city I'm in and my preferences.
And you can edit them. Fantastic. Okay, good.
Yep. And
now,
you
once you make the edit, does it save your edit for the next lease you do?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So what will happen is each time you create a lease, it saves it for the future. So you can apply leases across units, across buildings, and reuse them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see there's 35 something, 30, I guess more now. We keep adding them. 41. You can add your own. So besides just editing, you can add your own. And then the same thing is true of the rules. So here, a whole bunch of rules that are customized. Here you can see that this one is specific to Chicago because we're in Chicago. This is about recycling laws. There's a bunch of others here specific to Chicago. Here's one about snow. This is a new law.
But again, people use this in all 50 states. Okay.
All 50 states. We're in 18,000 zip codes.
Yeah.
We've got customers in 18,000 zip codes. And then, you get to the end, kind of close to the end here, there's a bunch of things you have to disclose about the property. So lead paint, radon, mold, all of these things. And then these are really specific, again, to where you're located. So Chicago, very strict. You'll see a whole bunch of disclosures. Places like Texas, you might only see one disclosure. And then we include all the attachments as well for that jurisdiction. Okay. And of course, you can remove them if you don't want them for some reason, or you can upload your own. A common thing to upload is a condo association bylaws if you're renting a condo or something like that. And then you enter your own information here. And of course, you can disguise or hide any of personal information if you want. But in this case, we'll just...
Here's a trick question for you. I hope you can do this. What if you have multiple LLCs or entities owning different properties in your portfolio, like I do, and you need a different owner each time, a different payee for their rent payment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we see that a lot. And mine's the same way. I actually have that. I've got two buildings, two LLCs for them. And that's very common. So we allow it at the building level, if that is a term or makes sense. So you might have a building with 3 units. We don't allow you to have an individual LLC at the unit level currently, but we do allow you to have it at the building level.
Most of our people buy single family homes. And so, it's just a bunch of separate single family homes, but it might be, 36 single family homes, okay, in different states, cities, yeah.
Yeah, so if they've got 36 single family homes, then they could easily have 36 LLCs.
Okay. And so tell us about rent collection. We're spending a little too much time probably on the lease because it's too context sensitive for your area. But just finish up on this lease stuff quickly, and let's talk about collecting rent on an ongoing basis if we could. And
yeah,
then,
absolutely.
And then I'd like to see tenant repair requests. And are there is there a portal for like contractors, handymen, HVAC people, et cetera, like that?
Yep, let me take you through those. So here you'll see it's prepared the lease. You can breeze through it and review it if you want, but let's go ahead and just send it to the tenant to sign. So I'll click that, and that's going to prepare it, turn it into a signable PDF, and send it to them.
Okay.
And then here immediately, because we create a lease with all the terms, we can start collecting rent with a single click. So here you can see it's already showing based on the lease. These are the terms we put in there. If we want to start collecting rent, this would be them. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save Charges. So we'll create our payment schedule for us. And then here we give it Landlords the option. So you mentioned it earlier, instead of security deposits or in addition to security deposits, you can sign up for rent default insurance through us, which depending on
is that your own insurance company, or that's Steady?
We partnered with a company called Steady.
Okay.
So I'm going to skip the coverage for now since this is not a real unit. And then here you can see it's set up our payment schedule here. So I can see everything that's in here.
Yep.
And the tenants would log in each month to pay these, or they can set up auto pay, and everything's in real time. So if they make a payment through our system, I would see it here, and then they can pay either with a credit card or direct with a bank account.
So are you using, say, Plaid underneath to do that payment collection?
We're using Plaid to allow them to hook up their bank account.
Right.
The actual payment processing doesn't go through Plaid. I don't think they actually offer that. Instead, we've partnered with a large national bank who will actually process the payments.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then we use Stripe for credit cards.
Okay. And so, I'm as you're talking, I'm kind of trying to figure out your different revenue streams here, because I'm dying to ask what the price is for this. Or is it free to the landlord, but you're making money on these ancillary services? Or is there a fee and then there's an upcharge on the ancillary stuff?
Yeah, we don't try to hide our revenue streams at all.
I'm not suggesting that for a moment, but just curious,
Yeah,
want to know what the incentives are.
Happy to talk about that, and then we can jump to maintenance. So for any landlord, this can be completely free for the landlord. As many units as you want. One of the first ways we make money is on the tenant side. So when a tenant completes a rental application, depending on which reports you chose, it'll be anywhere from $30 to $55. Right. And so that's a big revenue stream for us.
Sure.
Second is on some payment processing. So if tenant's paying with a credit card, there's a 3.5% fee. We take a really small portion of that, but most of that goes to the credit card processor.
So like Stripe is 2.75, so you're probably making 0.75 spread, or maybe you have a better deal because you're a big vendor.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay. And then we also make some money on some of the partnerships that we have. So Steady, for instance, will pay us if there's a policy closed. We have the same thing on renters insurance. All of our leases require renters insurance, and we try super hard to make it easy for tenants to get renters insurance. Right. We partner with Lemonade to do that.
Sure.
And then we do have a bunch of premium features for landlords. So there are some customizations that you have to upgrade for, and that upgrade is $5 per unit per month.
Okay. And did we see any of those upgrades here, like customizing the lease and things like that?
We did. So the two big examples that we saw on the applications, customizing, adding your own customized application questions was one of those. Mm-hmm. And then on the leases, if you wanted to edit any of our existing clauses, that would be one as well. And we find that both of those cases, it's really tailored to a more professional landlord who's really wanting to hone in on something. And most other landlords, if you're still kind of novice or beginner, should really stay with the default stuff.
And is there only one level of upgrade for landlords in terms of that customization, or are there more things than the $60 a year?
No, it's just one level.
Keep going. Tell us more.
Great. So that's payments. And then, as tenants make their rent, you'll see it in here. You'll see that the dashboard will change too. Once payments start coming in, it will look a little more numbers centric. And then, of course, the last thing in managing a property is the maintenance. So tenants have a portal to submit maintenance. It looks identical to the landlord, so we allow the landlord to create a ticket too. Here, for instance, if a tenant has any kind of problem, let's maybe say that the door, for some reason, this was actually a recent one for me, door isn't closing properly. It was kind of getting caught on itself. So I got a ticket, and latch seems to be blocking.
Is there a mobile app that the tenant can do this through, or is it all web-based?
This is all web-based. It's a web app. So it's mobile responsive. And even if I drag the screen around, you'll see that it kind of becomes fluid. So here they can upload photos if they want. If the landlord's creating it, I can choose whether I want the tenants to be emailed about this ticket or not. Sometimes it's just building maintenance that I'm doing. I don't need to notify the tenants. And of course, if the tenant's creating this, I'm always going to be notified. So here I can create the ticket, and then here I can see it. And if it's something where there are contractors in the area, we hook into Yelp. Those would be displayed on the right here.
Okay.
For this, currently aren't any because this is not a real property. But and then you can have a back and forth dialogue with the tenant on this.
Okay. Now, what about a third party to do move out inspections? Like, say you self-manage your property, but it's long distance, so you have an agent or a property manager that's just doing a la carte services, and or maybe it's just a friend of yours or a contractor of some sort. A lot of people just enlist their handyman to do a lot of this stuff, to do like a move out inspection and a move in walkthrough for the new tenant. Can they just use that tenant portal to do that, or do you have a separate portal that's for an inspector?
Yeah, this is one of the limitations of doing a live real-time demo, because I can't act as the tenant here and sign this lease. But once the tenant signs this lease, they're actually then provided a portal to do the move-in and move-out checklists. And those are all done through the system and uploaded back into the system here. They get a huge checklist of things to do upon move-in, not just the inspection checklists, but transferring utilities, coordinating the key exchange. All of those things become a to-do list that are actionable in the system for them.
And that's for the tenant.
But both the landlord and tenant have a shared portal for that.
Okay, got it. But sometimes you need a third party to do that. So that's why I was asking about the third party. Like the inspector.
Yeah, which is a great point. We currently don't allow third parties to use the platform, not in a great way. If you wanted that, it would be a shared login. That's also on our roadmap. We are finding since more and more property managers end up using us, we do get requests for adding like team members that can log in and get access to certain areas.
Good.
Great. So that's really the demo. There's a few additional things that we also add. So all of this stuff here is specific to the unit or the property that we looked at, but there's a few things that may be more like portfolio based. So you can have your own custom marketing website. If you've got 10 or more units, it might make sense.
There's a charge for that, I'm guessing, right?
You get this included if you're paying for the premium plan.
Okay.
Here you can see a list of all of your tenants across all of your properties. So you have one rent roll in essence here, and you can include past tenants or just current or future. You can see what their statuses are. Have they created their accounts? Have they added their bank accounts yet? We have a service called Fast Pay. So normally in the industry, you're collecting rent online. There's usually 3 to 5 business days before you get the rent. We allow next day. And so this would be, are they ready for next day? Otherwise, it's 3 business days. There's a bunch of reports you can get at an account level here. We do find some of the larger landlords we have are in this area a lot. And then these all up here are very dynamic. These down here are downloadable for whatever tax purposes they might have, or if they want to share it. We have another feature here where, let's say you're buying a property and you want to know what the rents might be and figure out if it's worth buying. This will give you a very detailed rent analysis report. If you just bought a place and you're not sure what is market rent, this is a great report to get you started in that area too. And then, of course, we have a very extensive educational section for landlords covering kind of all the news that's happening. We've got several guides on how to screen, how to collect rent. We cover all the laws and regulations, all those things.
Excellent. Good stuff. Nice product. I like it. So thank you for the demo. I appreciate that. Anything else you just want to share in closing?
No, hopefully people find it valuable. I mean, they can obviously sign up for free. And if you want to talk to a human being while doing this, there's this button down at the bottom right where most of the time you can just engage in a live conversation with someone and learn more. So I encourage anyone, just get started, give it a try. You don't have to pay us if you don't like it. So
good stuff. And thank you so much for joining us, Laurence.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for having me.